listening to the PRO Media Network. The next level in entertainment.
Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, telling you everything you need to know about the Saints, Pelicans, and a whole lot more.
Welcome, sports fans. You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. And we have intense entertainment and educating sport talk from your favorite
shocking
sports family.
Shocking sports talk.
Once again, I'm Big Q, and in-house, we got DC in the building. How you doing, my man?
I'm over here messing up Big Q flow, interrupting.
Usually, you know how my flow usually goes, but it's hard for me to even focus on that because the Saints, we're coming away from this loss in Minnesota, 29-24, and of course, 29 points, it was 29 points were scored between both teams in the final quarter, ultimately ending with the Saints on the wrong side of the divisional match. And it was for most half of the game, Minnesota was in control of this game until the second half adjustments made by New Orleans to ultimately change the game going forward. And the Saints defense stepped up, the offense stepped up, and things started to roll. And then here come the horrible end of the game play, which ultimately killed the Saints. I mean, I would have to say, DC, and I'm going to say this before we just break into our topics, that we're going to talk today this on this 1 hour divisional post-game match between the Saints and the Vikings, with a trip hinging on the line to go to the NFC Championship game against the Philadelphia Eagles that took care of business, which would put them within one game of going to the Super Bowl. Wow. Saints could not put it all together, and I say that to say the defense played well enough, but just couldn't come up with a final stop to close the game. But that don't count. You got to play 100%. And it showed you that you have to play every second of the game or you could possibly lose it. With 10 seconds on the line, everybody's celebrating, and just to have victory snatched from you like that is just horrible. This is by far the worst. Saints playoff loss. I would even put regular season losses in that, but with everything as much that was on the line for this team, to lose in this fashion with 10 seconds remaining on a deep ball because your rookie safety puts his head down as opposed to keeping his eyes up, making the play, and once he make the tackle, wrap the guy up, game over with, Saints advance against the Eagles. No, he puts his head down and then lunges into and misses the entire receiver, took his own man, can crawl out, and the man runs unabated into the end zone. This is the most horrible and worst loss of the franchise history. This is by far worse than the Marshawn Lynch run of Seattle a few years ago when he basically ran over the entire team. We knew we wasn't going to win that game. The Saints was in the death battle with that team. You could see the momentum they didn't have at that game. This game, they had the game. And then the game was snatched from their hands at 10 seconds left because of a silly play. In this podcast, this is episode 134. We'll break down the game with stats, facts. We also have some interviews to play you from Drew Brees and Sean Payton. We'll get to those in a little bit.
We want to hear from Marcus Williams.
As soon as we get one on him, we'll play it as well. I definitely think that you won't be hearing from him probably today or tomorrow, maybe down the week. But we'll talk about the historic meltdown. I say historic because this is the worst loss in the Saints history. This has got to be with everything that was on the line. We'll talk about that in depth.
Passes Marshawn Lynch going
big time. Oh, way worse than that.
You think this will catapult the Vikings on a historic run? Maybe like we did for Seattle.
No,
we basically made them. They took off after that game.
No, I think Minnesota's going to be a strong team for a very long time. I don't think they'll win a Super Bowl this year though. But I
think they'll win a Super Bowl ever?
Yeah, eventually I think they will get one if they can keep that nucleus together. But But we'll talk about the Saints' historic comeback. They came from 17 points down. That's an NFL record. If they had completed and won the game, they would have broken the record because the most that any team that came down in the playoffs was 14. The Saints were 17 down at halftime, came all the way back, took the lead, and ultimately lost it at the end. Like I said, we'll talk about Drew Brees' stellar play in the second half. He stuck the first half, but the second half he put it together. Would love to hear what Coach Sean Payton would have told him at halftime to light a fire under those guys' butts. Elvin Kamara, we'll talk about his pretty decent game. Michael Thomas was excellent against Xavier Rhodes, man. Let me tell you something. If you watch Michael Thomas play today, Michael Thomas played against one of the best physical man-to-man cornerbacks in the game, and he made him look pretty bad at plays. Xavier Rhodes is a hell of a player.
He demolished him.
But Mike Thomas
let's look at the stat
him.
line.
But hold on, DC, before you get to that, because I know you got a lot to break into that. But let me just run down the rest of these, and then we're going to delve into them individually. And we'll talk about the inability to stop Case Keenum. Boy, the defense had him a few times, couldn't get him on the ground. The fluke TV is called the fluke TD catch with 10 seconds left. We'll go over that. Drew Brees, will he leave or stay? We even go hypothetical on you, being that now officially in the offseason, we solidified our pick status. Now we know we're going to be drafting.
We're ready to go home, man.
Yeah, so there we go. Drew Brees, will he leave or stay? You know, that's something we'll talk about. We'll give you our opinions on that. And the Saints going forward. And the draft signs, we'll go a little bit into that. Of course, you know, the Sports Comas show is Mondays at 12 o'clock, Fridays at 4. There's also the Pelican post-game report that covers the Pelicans. That's a separate show as well, just to let you guys know. And we'll have, like I said, the Saints interviews from Sean Payton and Drew Brees will be coming up shortly. And we'll talk about the star of the show in a negative way, Marcus Williams, who had an interception. We're going to be fair to Marcus Williams, who had an interception. But, of course, you know, that don't matter, man. You could have had 5 interceptions in this game, but if you missed that tackle at the end of the game to allow them to lose the game, to go into it, none of that matters. And they'll tell you that out of their own mouths. And where the Saints, and where we'll give our final opinion where the Saints stand in the young or dumb category. We'll get into that more. So, DC, before we get into our commentary, my friend, we're gonna play Sean Payton right here because we definitely want to know what Coach Payton got to say. Here is the coach Sean Payton at the end of the game.
Congratulate Minnesota. It was an exciting game. Obviously, a disappointing game to lose in the fashion we did. I was proud of our players, though. We fought back in the second half, kind of climbed back in it, made enough plays to put ourselves in that position. This will take a while to get over, but at some point it'll pass. It'll take a little bit of time. But I thought overall, I was proud of the fight, the way we played and responded in the second half. We dug ourselves in a hole in the first half, but in the end, you know, we came up short. Any questions? Yeah, like I just finished saying. I mean, proud of. You know, I think there's been a lot of fight this year. You know, we've dealt with a lot of adversity, a lot of different players. You know, a lot of injuries, and guys have stepped up and look. They fought hard till the end and lost to a good team tonight, and you know, had a chance. We're in a position there.
I know it's going to take a while to get over. You coached a lot of football teams, but just in the moment right now, is that, I mean, have you ever been part of anything like that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, in our game, you play it long enough. You have some wins like that. You have some losses. The losses, you know, are tougher to get over. Hopefully, when your career is done, you're a part of more of the wins than you are the losses.
Sean, what was the defensive call in that last play?
It was our outside zone. We're protecting the sidelines. You know, where you're anything inside, and you're in a pretty good position where the game's over. So it's a situation we practice quite a bit. And look, he jumped and went for the tackle, and so the call was what we wanted in that situation, the right call. Congratulate Minnesota.
All right, here that was Sean Payton chiming in on the game, and that's just a little something from Coach Payton. It's amazing to me I'm just like a lot of the Saints Nation right now, just completely dumbfounded, and then let the memes roar out. DC showed me one from Instagram. Was showing the Saints
still sitting in front of the TV like
with their mouth
got,
wide open.
Kevin Hart on there
Wow.
looking stupid.
I mean, it's just I'm. Well, let's look at the statistics and try to pull some of you guys out of shock. Drew Brees was 25 out of 40 on the game for 294 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had 2 interceptions. He was sacked a couple times in the game, but still came away with 89% rating. Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram all combined, and the Saints, of course, had Ted again, and Drew Brees had a little scramble in that too for a yard. They all combined for 24 carries for 80 yards, which is 3.3 on the carry. Michael Thomas, 7 catches for 85 yards on the day. He had 2 scores, targeted 13 times, however. Teddy again showed up in big 2. He had 8 catches for 72 yards. Alvin Kamara, 4 catches for 62. And he had that beautiful touchdown grab over the top of Kendricks in the game as well. Defensively, on the other side of the defense, Manti Te'o was huge. He had 10 tackles and a sack in the game. Wow. Craig Robinson finished with 9 tackles. Big ups to Craig. Big up with Manti. Von Bell was solid as usual. 8 tackles on the day for him. Craig Cawley, 6 tackles on the day. And then Sheldon Rankins had 5 tackles and also a sack.
Monster game today, man.
So he really played big in this game, and the Saints.
Cam Jordan had a Cam Jordan game.
Cam tried every bit to get down there. Cam, listen, I seen him holding the hell out of you, man. You didn't get the call in this game, but that's okay. Total yards on the game, New Orleans finished with 410 yards, 413 yards from Carolina.
That's Carolina game, man.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong statistics. But anyway, DC, while I get that statistic line together, what's Sean Payton saying, man, about this whole deal dealing with the Saints loss, and what do you think about what he's saying, man?
He don't want to say the truth because he got to protect his player. We all know why the Saints lost. I mean, you seen the play. And he's making it seem, we came up a little bit short and all this type of stuff, which we did. But he's just being a typical coach. He's going into Bill Belichick-esque mode, and he's protecting his players from, I guess, further scrutiny or questioning on video. So he's pretty much, to me, trying to avoid anything where you actually say Marcus Williams by name to throw him under the bus, because obviously he's a rookie, and we're not going to get rid of him. So, got to protect him moving forward.
Well, let's look at it like this. The statistics on it says Saints 23-24 in the first down battle. Not much there. The Saints ran 67 total plays versus 71 by Minnesota. 358 total yards by the Saints, 403, and most of that 60-something yards, 403. 60 of that came on a deep ball throw to Stephon Diggs at the end of the game. Total drives, they both split at 12. They both averaged 5 by Saints, about 5.3. Vikings almost 6 yards per play in the game. The Saints, Vikings rushed a little bit better. They had 95 total yards. They were a little bit balanced in the Saints, although the Saints made the right plays and needed to get into this game. They just snapped into it. Penalty-wise, the Saints had almost 100 yards worth of penalties. 7 penalties for 97 yards. I didn't agree with at least 2 or 3 of those penalty calls, but the Saints still were in position to win this game. 4 penalties for Minnesota Vikings. Should have been a lot more than that with all of the ridiculous holes and pass interferences.
Had, 92 yards worth of penalties in the first half.
So it was just asinine to me that this team didn't get more penalties for them in their favor. But anyway, the Saints had 2 turnovers in this game. Forced one by Minnesota from said guilty party, Marcus Williams. 26-43 on time possession for New Orleans. Minnesota had 33-17. We're about to go into our first break. When we come back on the other side of the break, we'll get into our topics. We'll talk about the Saints' horrible play in the first quarter, the meltdown of the Saints, and other topics.
Like that broken tackle?
Yeah. Broke a tackle indeed. I won't even say that wasn't even a broken tackle. That guy just put his head down and missed the guy. Listen, we'll talk about all the other topics on the other side of the break. So just calm down, grab you something to calm down. If you're a cigarette, smoke a cigarette.
You can't say nothing about grabbing.
Whatever you got to do, just hold on. We'll be back on the other side of the break. You listen to the Sports Coma. Stay with us. What's up, sports world? This Big Q from the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. Talking to you about the website, theposhlifestyle.com. That's right, poshlifestyle.com. A great website where you can get great products at great prices. They sell organic herbs, vitamins, supplements, water filters for your home, EMF and cell phone radiation protection, healing magnetics and healing crystals, personal protection devices like cell phones, stun guns, and mace spray, organic deodorants, shampoos, soaps, toothpaste, and more. They also sell 10A grade Brazilian hair. 10A music is available now. All kind of the latest downloadable mixtapes. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to theposhlifestyle.com. That's the Posh Lifestyle, life spelled with a Y, LYFE style.com. Put in the Sports Coma for the 10% discount on your purchase. It's a win-win. So get your mind and body right with the Posh Lifestyle.
Get all the latest news and updates from your New Orleans Pelicans at the Pelicans Eye View, the new and official Pelicans Daily Journal, covering everything Pelicans. Attention, everyone. Get breakdown on games, free agent signings, and potential moves. Unbiased opinions and straight up facts with statistical analysis from G Valley. Go to www.thesportsdaily.com/Pelicans-I-View.
Wow, what a huge honor it is to be named NBA 2K18 Legend Edition cover athlete. I really wouldn't be here without the guidance, love, and support of my mom and dad. Also, I'd like to thank my coaches, both college and professional. But most of all, I'd like to thank Kobe Bryant. He was the NBA 2K Legend cover athlete first. He's so awesome and handsome and has really nice natural teeth. Wait, what? I'll be looking at his teeth. This ain't over, Kobe. Payback's gonna be fun.
Let me tell you about a news site that carries the news that you would want to know. News that's not the same as the rest of lamestream media, but a site that lets you know about the most important news on health, economics, tech, entertainment, science, food, sports, world news, positive living, paradigm shift, and a lot more. Go to theposhreportonline.co. That's right, theposhreportonline.co. Learn more. And remember, challenge everything.
Follow the Sports Coma on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Thank you for listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. And we back after this, whatever it was, this matchup against the Minnesota Vikings and the New Orleans Saints in Minnesota divisional round. Saints had the game in hand, and of course we all know what ultimately happened. In this segment, we're going to go into some topics. We're going to rapid fire through some of these topics and move forward before we officially go into the next interview by Drew Brees and hear what he got to say in a few topics. We'll play Drew in just a few minutes and see what he think about the end of the game. So a lot of us is in pure shock right now, and that's understandable. We had this game and we were on pace to face off against the Philadelphia Eagles. And what could have been, I think we could have beat those guys, but it's not. That's all that's all theory now.
In our mind.
Yeah, that's all theory
Because
now.
our show was looking at, man.
Now the next
I wonder
thing.
if it's going to snow in Philly. I was thinking about that on the sofa.
Now it moves from Philadelphia to what's happening in Indianapolis and the free agency wire. So here we go. We officially peruse into off-season mode after we digesting this loss here. And well, let's do this, DC. We're going to fire off into this rapid fire round where we cover a few of these because we got a bunch of them here. We're going to be with you guys for the duration of an hour. So we got a lot to talk about. Like I said, we'll be playing Drew in a second. But let's talk about the Saints' horrible first quarter. Of course, first half is more like it. The Saints were held scoreless. Of course, a lot of punts, interceptions, just bad drives that ended to nothing in the first few quarters of play. The Saints didn't get a score. Of course, the only opportunity they had was a 58-yard attempt by Will Lutz, which was kicked far left, which left the Saints scoreless. But, of course, Minnesota's kicker also missed one that could have pushed it up a lot higher than what it was. So, of course, the Saints finished the first quarter down 17-0 in that initial thing. What's your thoughts on that?
I thought that was horrible. Totally horrible. Like, there's no excuse for us to play that bad. I mean, we knew Minnesota was going to be a good defense, but, man, we were tripping over our own feet at times, as well as them playing us very well. You know you're not going to convert on third down the way you should, so you can't go in there and give 2 turnovers up in the first half, man. And the first quarter was just, man, we couldn't get anything going. Defensively, we let them basically get all the points that they got in the game until the last few plays. They got all their points in the first quarter. And it's almost like Minnesota came ready to play in the first quarter, and we weren't. We didn't wake up till about the middle of the third quarter, and that's amazing because when we scored maybe 17 points in the fourth quarter. So I thought that was just, I don't know, confusing, man. I expected Minnesota to play good, but I didn't expect our defense and our offense to equally play as atrocious in the first quarter. I mean, man, I thought we could stymie them out a little bit for a little while, but when they jumped up to a 17-point lead, I was wondering, if it's just the Michael Jackson movie. This is it.
It was it. It was it for the Saints as their season careened to an end after the second quarter came to an end, the second half of the game, actually. 29 points were scored. Of course, the Saints came out. The defense shut the Minnesota offense down in the third quarter, putting the game at 17-7 within 10. Then the Saints came out on fire. They scored 17 and ultimately held the Minnesota Vikings down until one of the final plays. Now, they both combined in just the fourth quarter, scoring for 29 points altogether. But as far as the first half go, very horrible first half for the Saints. They did everything wrong. Drew Brees was horrible in the first half, of course, and they couldn't get the run going. They couldn't get anything going, and Minnesota just had their number, and the Saints had to make the proper adjustments, in which they did in the second half. Let's talk about the meltdown of the Saints. Now, speaking about meltdown, it took a lot. First, let me give credit what's credit's due. The Saints made the necessary adjustments in the second half to get this game. Not only did it come from 17 back to take the lead, let me make something very clear. No one in the history of the NFL playoffs ever came from more than 14 points down to claim the lead and win the game. Now, of course, the Saints won't get credit for that because they didn't win. But no one has ever done that in NFL history. For the Saints to go into the halftime, come out, whatever Sean Payton said to the light of fire under those guys, it worked for, because they fought all the way back into the game. Now, it went back and forth, and eventually the Saints did have the game in hand up until that final play, which ultimately ended pretty bad. Now, DC just put a picture up here in front of me. And it looks terrible. It's like it's an angle from the sideline by a photographer.
He's like 2 feet away from him.
At the moment of impact, Mike Williams literally puts his head down. His head is down while the man is in the air. Now,
the caption says, Matt Teo's girlfriend pushed him in the back.
Is the only explanation. How did you miss it? Because he puts his head down. The guy is wide. You could blast this guy into oblivion. He is at the perfect area of in the height of his jump where you can just hit him, clip him, and flip him over, and he is not gonna hold on to that ball coming out because he want to brace himself.
Better yet, he gonna get tackled. He could catch.
He could have blasted him to bloody blue blazes,
all
but he
do
did
was
not.
Hit him, and he falls on the ground.
And
man.
he did not. And let's talk about this. The topic says historic meltdown. I can't say it's a historic meltdown because it was a back and forth game between both of the teams. Ultimately, ended up with a bad play where the Saints could not close the game. Now, the safety, the last line of defense for the Saints, did not bring it home. He did a terrible thing, and you're going to have all these guys like me and DC talked about. The narrative is going to be to protect the rookie. Oh, he's just a rookie. He's just a rookie. Let me tell you something.
Young guys making mistakes.
A young guy making mistakes. Let me tell you something. This ain't one of those situations where you got a guy who don't know how to tackle. Marcus Williams has been one of the solid secondary guys that we've had. He's been installed in the Saints.
Von Bell had led the team in tackles maybe the last 3 weeks.
But Marcus Williams found the ball. He had an interception in this game. He found the ball, made a beautiful interception on the ball, went up and got it at his highest point, pulled it down, and even ran it back. For a guy to do all that, plus everything Marcus Williams did on the season, you can miss me with that nonsense about he just was a rookie. It was a rookie mistake. No, it was not a rookie mistake.
I don't think it was a mistake at all.
It was just a bad thing. Now, I've seen, and I'm telling you, we've watched all of this from preseason all the way up until now. We followed this. We looked at tape. We studied this. We know who Marcus Williams is as a player. He's gave us plenty enough film. He has a habit and a bad habit of not wrapping up guys and not wrapping up guys with arm tackles. This is one of the things where he just tried to chip the guy with a shoulder tackle. That was not what was called for. You always supposed to keep your head up. Even the guys in park, the little boys in park ball to teach to always see what you hitting. Always see what you hit. But this is not the first time Marcus Williams made that mistake. He's did this at least 3 times throughout the season where he's kept his head down and went for tackles only to miss them or to miss the guy. And then it comes it shows up. This ugly habit shows up at the last possible moment. DC, what do you think about that?
I think I'd have been more happy if Ken Crawley was making the tackle, because I know they at least would have got some laundry and we would have had another shot.
DC, he could not make the tackle. You know why Ken Crawley couldn't make the tackle? Because Marcus Williams took him out.
Now y'all gonna call me a little bit crazy, but for whatever reason, I think Marcus Williams did it on purpose. I can't
say that, DC.
What are you doing?
I can't say. I would just say the guy.
You're the safety.
He has a propensity
you are the safety.
He has a propensity to make. He's done that before, though.
You got to explain.
That's not the only time Marcus Williams did that.
You got to explain it your way. You are the safety. You're the last line of defense. They were out there running what looked like a cover 2 to me. Maybe I need to get some more video on it, but that in itself, I didn't agree with. It's the last play of the game. I think you should have had more guys back there. But you are the safety. There's no one else but you. To me, it looks like he intentionally tried to avoid hitting him. Maybe his ideology was he didn't want to get a pass interference call.
Right.
They come down, kick a field goal type thing like that. But there ain't nobody else back there. So you don't get the pass interference. You just go run for a touchdown.
Oh, Lord.
If it's that serious, I mean, you just have to risk and maybe get the pass interference call. And it's unexcusable to not touch him. Like, I mean, you gotta hit him, man. You have to. You have no other chance. So maybe Marcus Williams should have played cornerback on that play, and Ken Crawley should have played safety, because we know Ken Crawley was gonna grab him.
Well. Yeah, I hear what you're saying,
and I agree. I agree with Ken Crawley's tactics. Don't get beat.
Well, I hear what you're saying. I know they're gonna have an element of the fandom that's gonna think like that, and I know you're representing that side of it. I just don't tend to agree with that. I see what you're saying though, but we just discussed some of the information dealing with the meltdown of the Saints. We also talk about the historic comeback, where I made mention of the fact that the Saints were the only team, if they would have completed and won the game, they would have been the only team in NFL history to come back from 14 points or more. They came back from 17 to take the lead. If they'd have closed the game down and won it, they would have been – no other NFL team has ever done that, but the Saints did it. So they were spectacular. Now, Drew Brees' second half stellar play was outstanding. He lit up like a Christmas tree, and a lot of his statistics came in that duration of that period of time where he went on 40 passes, 25 completions, 294 yards. 3 touchdowns. He had 2 interceptions in the game. But Drew Brees really lit a fire into this team, and they came and took the lead. Ultimately, it was a defensive stance that had to close the game. Defense couldn't do it. Our defense just couldn't do it. And that's in part because of Marcus Williams. But when we come back on the other side of the break, about to go into our second break. When we come back, we got still plenty of Saints stuff to talk about. Please remain with us. When we come back, we'll play an interview from Drew Brees, see what he thinks about what happened during the game. We'll discuss Alvin Kamara, Mike Thomas, and the inability of the Saints defense and many other factors that led up to this unspectacular play, in my opinion.
This historic
collapse.
meltdown.
So stay with us.
You can't call it nothing else, man.
You can't. You're listening to the Sports Coma. We'll be back.
Forget ESPN or Fox. Get straight sports talk from the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
In today's world, children are bombarded with negativity on television, online, and at school. Our kids need to have a positive outlook on life and the world around them. I want to share with you a valuable resource you can use to bring positivity into your child's life. It's the new book, 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image, from author and dad, G.J. Barabino. This is a simple guide loaded with wonderful and inspirational affirmations designed to uplift young people's spirits. This positive and powerful children affirmational is chock full and loaded with wonderful inspirational sayings that will lift your child's self-image to whole new levels through the awesome power of spoken word. 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image, from author and dad G.J. Barabino. Available on Amazon. Order a copy for yourself, your child's teachers, or anyone you know with children. 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image. Order your copy today.
Thank you for listening to the Pro Media Network, who provides hours and hours of free entertainment to you and yours. If you are benefiting positively from our content, please donate to help us grow our platform by going to www.patreon.com/the Pro Media Network. That's www.patreon.com/the Pro Media Network, and support the true independent artists.
Check out the Crown They Ass World podcast with three kings covering all the news and issues that affect you and the ones you care about, only on the PRO Media Network.
Hello, New Orleans. You're listening to the Sports Coma, your new #1 podcast on everything Saints, Pelicans, and a lot more. And now, here's your host, Big Q and the guys.
Welcome back to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. We're back here. And we're talking about the New Orleans Saints' stunning loss to the Minnesota Vikings. And to me, DC, a lot of people going bonkers on social media right now.
They lighting our ass up on social media, right?
And what can I tell you, fam? We just we lost. We lost. We had the game in hand. It's a different feeling to know, hey, man, we came here, we had a good season up to that point, whatever. But to lose in a fashion where you are winning with 10 seconds left, right, and the only thing you had to do is get in the prevent defense and not let them catch a touchdown.
Instead of a cover two.
And ultimately,
I say 90% of other teams in the league would have definitely been in the prevent defense.
Of course, we are among the percentage that was not.
And we also was among the percentage that was not on Tampa Bay in Week 16. We actually had practice for this debacle. We was preparing for this in Week 16 against Tampa Bay, in which we gave up a game-winning touchdown in the last 9 seconds of the game, I think.
Unreal to me, man, that at any facet of your
imagination. Man, you got the start of hour? Hold on, y'all. We got to stop everything. We got Marcus Williams for an interview. I'm sorry, Big Q. I know you wanted to tell the people I had to stay your shine on that one. This guy is a superstar.
Well, here's Marcus Williams, man.
I'm gonna hear this
on his game. Decide.
Let his whole interview play too.
Here's Marcus Williams.
Marcus, what did you see in that last fight, and what do you remember about the decision?
Man, it was just my play to make. Ball was in the air. I didn't go attack it. Came down, made a great play, and that's on me. I just gotta be that guy and go up and get the ball. As a safety back there, you gotta be the eraser, and that was my job. Last play of the game, you gotta go do it, and you gotta say the game.
How do you bounce back?
Man, just overcome it. You can't let it beat you down. I mean, I'm gonna take it upon myself to do all that I can to never let that happen again. And I mean, if it happens again, then I shouldn't be playing. But I'm gonna take it upon myself to do all that I can to make sure nothing like this happens again to me.
What kind of support have you gotten from teammates?
Man, it's constant support from my teammates. They always tell me don't put your head down already. So, I got a love and support from all of them. I don't feel like anybody in here is down on me or anything like that. I feel like we all
That's
together.
Marcus Williams, man. Basically breaking down, telling you that we all here. We all here. He getting a lot of support.
Nah, on the positive side,
on the Saints side of stuff. So
I remember
that's
seeing
all
a
right.
guy like this named Ken Crawley last year, and he said similar things. Moment wasn't as big, of course. A lot of those games.
DC called me crazy. I actually
But
believe him.
He came back.
I believe him.
The next year, and Ken Crawley is doesn't have nowhere near the potential of a Marcus Williams. And Ken Crawley came back that next year, and he was almost ×3 what he was before.
You looking at Marcus Williams though, man. You looking at it in his face during the
possibly
interview.
a
Don't
pro
he look like he
bowler,
was
man.
crying to you?
Man, looks he's got red in
red
his
in
eye. I
his
say he
eyes. He
did
was
it on
crying,
purpose
dude.
and all that. This dude looked like he was,
Looked like he
you
was
know,
crying
in
to
that
me.
crying. It
Yeah.
really broke him up, and I think he gonna come back a totally transformed player next year.
That dude gonna look like a linebacker back there. He gonna be
That's
playing.
gonna be scary, man.
He
He
gonna be
already
playing
got
out of his
hands.
mind.
If he could start laying the wood, because I mean that's basically what caused this mistake. You know,
Bad play, man.
Bad tackling.
Bad
Wanting to
tackling.
hit, not wrap up. He get the Cam Chancellor thing going.
I
go
can
with
see.
them hands.
He's a big guy, about 6 foot. What 3? Is he about that?
All he got to
big?
go do is work out with Michael Thomas. You seen how he was moving the pile all day.
Well, to look at what we talking about, Marcus Williams, man. He finished third on the team in tackles. He finished with 73 tackles on the year total. He also finished with 4 interceptions. He also had an interception in the playoffs. So to finish as the third tackle and on the team is pretty.
That's
pretty
pretty
good
impressive.
as a
And
rookie.
then,
Now remember, he's a rookie now.
Yeah,
he's a rookie.
Yeah, and you have to also add the aspect that he's third on the team in tackles. So that means we had a lot of deficiencies in other areas, which I don't know what point we on, but we need to talk about signings that we need to make.
Well, let's
so that teams can't constantly get to the last level of our defense. I mean, it was the last play of the game. That play was different, but we seen things like this happening at regular points during the game where they too much free access to the safety, and allowing Marcus Williams to have to be the eraser too many times.
That's true. Yes, that's very true. A lot of blame could be said, but it's obviously pointed at Williams because he was the last line factor back there. Whatever formation they had him in the position to make the play, just didn't make it. Here's Drew Brees on his thoughts at the end of the game.
That's unfortunate too, because those are big opportunities. That's 7 points that just disappears off the board, and in a game like this, every point counts. But can't say enough about the way that we battled there in the second half. Man, I think we scored on every drive. Hard to do that on the road, playoffs against this team, that defense, #1 defense in football right there, and so I can't say enough about our guys and the resolve of our team, just to battle back after being down 17-0, and really felt like we should have won that game.
Sean said that a loss like this takes a while to get over. How quickly do you get past something like this? And because of your seniority on this team, do you have to say anything to the younger players? Because there are so many younger guys that may have not experienced something like this before.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've got a tight-knit team, and a lot of guys are good friends off the field, so it's not like, hey, season ends and everybody just kind of goes their separate ways. I mean, in some cases, but I think for the most part, this is a team that really cares about one another, and so guys will continue to spend a lot of time with each other, and yeah, it'll sting for a bit, especially as this season goes on here over the next few weeks, feeling like, that could be us. Maybe that should be us, and yet I've been around long enough to know that unfortunately sometimes these things happen, and you guys were there in 2011 at San Francisco. That was one we felt like we should have had, right? And we've been on the winning side of some crazy ones, but obviously with everything at stake, with the fact it's playoffs, it's win or go home, the way we battled back, this would have been one for the ages had we been able to pull it off.
Did you ever get over that loss in San Francisco, or it's one that?
Well, you have to.
Never.
I mean, you have to. I mean, when my career's all said and done, I'm sure that, I'll look back and say, nah, that one, certainly the way we felt about that team, as being a Super Bowl contender, felt that way about this team. I hope that I'm a part of a few more teams that I feel that way about, and that we can make a run at it. I mean, listen, you. Unfortunately, sometimes experience is a tough teacher, and things happen, and you can go one of two ways with it. Does it put you in the tank? Does it pull you apart, or does it unite you? Does it make you stronger? Does it mold you, strengthen you? And that's the outlook I'm taking, and I think that's the outlook that our entire team is taking. And we did some special things this year. For a team that was very young and very new. With free-agent acquisitions and such, and I think we exceeded a lot of expectations maybe for the people in this room. I think for us, as we went along, we felt like we were really building something. And I think that we have a window of time here where we can really make a run at it. But that is if you continue to have a growth mindset, that you're constantly getting better and constantly finding ways to, strive forward.
You mentioned a window. How far is your window?
That's me.
By the way, that man is now.
Anyway,
Drew Brees,
that's Drew Brees. His talk.
Is on the open market.
Drew Brees is always going to take the sunny side approach. Sunny side Drew. And why not? He's coming into the postseason now. Now the questions happen with the Saints is obviously Drew Brees made the comment in the season that he wants to stay here. He doesn't want to play for anybody else. So that's the next obvious thing is to lock the quarterback down for multiple years and position ourselves to start looking ahead at the draft and also free agency.
I think Drew Brees will stick around and we'll get a team-friendly deal, as team-friendly as it can be with Drew Brees. That's more
Drew
like
Brees wants his
$20
money.
million
Man, miss me with that. The only guy I know.
He's going to go from $24 million a year to $20 million. He might give
let me
us
tell
a
you something.
discount
Drew
of $4
Brees
million.
wants all of his money. Drew Brees, when they say he took a cut, those deals when Drew Brees took a cut, he did not take a cut in money. He pushed his money back.
The signing bonus.
He pushed it all the way back into the last deal just to give him extra money. Drew Brees wants all his money. He don't take pay cuts like Tom Brady do. Tom Brady takes literal pay cuts so his team could be. That's why they're winning, because Tom Brady is taking way less significant money so his team can add pieces around him.
Tom
So
Brady's,
Drew Brees is a little different than that.
A lot of Tom Brady's ability is based on Bill Belichick. I think he knows that. Not saying he's a system guy. Tom Brady is a very good quarterback. I just think that without Bill Belichick, he might not be the same guy.
I don't know.
You know what Drew Brees is without Sean Payton. He was already doing it before Sean Payton.
I don't know. That's a tough question. Bill Belichick, who knows what Bill Belichick would be without Tom Brady? That's the same argument. But anyway,
okay.
Alvin Kamara, it's a great game. Let's talk about Alvin. Let's kind of rapid fire through these. Alvin Kamara's great game. Of course, Kamara played a very splendid game against the Vikings. Not usually his astronomical numbers that he had. He had a terrific catch on his way to a solid game. He caught that touchdown that really took the lead for the Saints in the fourth quarter. So Kamara, 11 carries, 43 yards. Then you had Alvin Kamara, 11 catches for 43 yards. He led the team in rushing, averaging about 4 yards a carry at the longest run was a 10-yard run. Remember, this is against the Minnesota Vikings, one of the second toughest defense in the NFL behind the Jacksonville Jaguars. He actually
supposed to statistically be number one, but we all know who's the best.
Minnesota is the best in the NFC. Jaguars are the best in the NFL, period. No doubt about it, especially what they did with Roethlisberger. But anyway, on the receiving end,
threw for like 400-something yards on him today.
On the receiving end, Alvin Kamara, 4 catches, 62 yards, averaged 15.5 yards a catch, had 1 touchdown on the day receiving as well. So he made his mark in this game. Didn't do too much on the kick return end, unfortunately, in this affair. But that's pretty much what happened. Any quick thoughts on Alvin Kamara before the break?
I think it's an amazing bright spot moving forward, man. It makes you wonder if his role will increase, actually. And I think he was a very big part of this offense. And what can he improve on? It's almost scary because he's like a seasoned veteran right now. So what will the transformation be next year? Will he get bigger? Will he get faster? Will he get more precise? It's a lot to look forward to with that guy.
Well, that's we're going to our next break, our final break of the afternoon. My final segment is coming up. And we'll finish up the rest of our topics on the Saints players. Michael Thomas will also delve into a little bit into the future. Of course, in future podcasts, we'll get more into that as well. But we'll touch a little bit on that. The Saints' inability to stop Case Keenum, the fluke touchdown with 10 seconds left, among other topics. You're listening to the Sports Coma, Big Q and the guys. Stay with us.
I'm a Saints and Pelicans fan, so the only podcast I can get my fix is the Sports Coma with Big Q. The guy's intense, funny, and they always keep it real.
Check out the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
Clear, clean, great-tasting filtered water. We're all thirsty for it. But in the U.S. alone, an estimated 2.5 million plastic bottles are added to the environment each year in search of the perfect drink of water. There has to be a better solution, and there is. Crystal Quest, a leader in the manufacturing of water filtration technology, has been providing clean, drinkable water for 20 years. Crystal Quest has been recognized by such leaders as Consumers Digest, Dr. Oz, and Colin Ingram's The Water Drinking Book, offering our customers the cleanest and most environmental-friendly drinking water at a rating of high purity. With Crystal Quest's water filtration technology, you can rest assured that your water will be crystal clear. Contact our network of authorized distributors and join our thousands of satisfied customers.
Just log into theposhlifestyle.com. Once again, that is theposhlifestyle.com.
Get all the latest news and updates from your New Orleans Pelicans at the Pelicans Argue. The new and official Pelicans Daily Journal, covering everything Pelicans. Attention, everyone. Get breakdown on games, free agent signings and potential moves, unbiased opinions and straight up facts with statistical analysis from G Balance. Go to www.thesportsdaily.com/Pelicans-I-View.
Follow the Sports Coma on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. The best fucking sports podcast in the country.
Welcome back to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. And we're still talking to Saints. It's our final segment. Saints couldn't pull the win together, man, in Minnesota. Of course, it's a heartbreaker. 29-24 last minute. Lost to the Minnesota Vikings by Stephon Diggs, a 60-yard run.
It's kind of fitting us being the Saints.
61-yard. He finished with 6 catches, 137 yards with that 60-yard bomb with 10 seconds left.
Right.
Worst loss. I don't give a damn about history, about playoffs or regular seasons, anywhere. Worst loss of the Saints' history when you had the game in hand, just make the tackle. Marcus Williams, very sorrowful. Everybody's got his back. Only thing I can say is we're going to look forward to the future and see how it works out. But DC, quick comment on what I just said.
It's very telling. The name of our team is the Saints. The name of their team is the Vikings. They basically stole a win from us. I mean, we were down there thinking it's all good. You like when you want to fight somebody and you're like, oh, you want to dap off before and all, and they just punched us in the face when we thought the game was over.
They had the inability to stop Case Keenum. Bottom line, Keenum finished 25 out of 40, 318 yards. He had 8 yards a throw, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, sacked 2 times in the game, 85.2 rating. Then one of the biggest throws he had made countless times that he converted on third down when he was able to find people. Throw after throw, to throw him into field goal range on some throws to get first downs. Saints defense was in zone sometimes, and he was able to find the right man. And the guy, Adam Thielen, kept a lot of those drops going, 6 catches, 74 yards on the day, but big catches from both Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, and Jarius Wright, the third string wide receiver. Both those guys had fantastic. All those guys played really well. Well, we talk about the inability to stop him. What was the problem, schematic or what? What's your opinion on that?
I think injuries, but I'm not going to just hold it on that. We had 9 starters, or maybe 7 at least, of defensive people that were out. It's a lot of people, man. We got a lot of rookies playing, so inexperience is a factor. But to me, honestly, I think at times I've seen this in a lot of games, especially with our defense. It was the inability to adjust on the fly to what they were doing. I've seen maybe several times throughout the game they kept beating us on those crossing routes, getting our receivers mixed up in there instead of switching. When you're in man, you're going to try to go with them. Just not having guys prepared for stuff like that. I mean, you're going to get beat sometimes with it, but we got beat way too many times with stuff like that. They did the same thing all game, and we weren't able to adjust. So a lot of it goes on coaching. Of course, a lot of it goes on the players as well, because they're out there not being able to perform. And, it's a mashup of stuff, man. You don't lose a game like this just with one thing.
Well, let's look at the one thing: the fluke touchdown throw.
Right.
I say fluke because that don't really happen. According to some statistics, we did a little research and found out some stuff.
Point, though, honestly.
According to NFL research, Vikings and Saints was the first game in NFL playoff history to end on a game-winning touchdown as time expired in the fourth quarter. So this has never happened before, that a team actually gave up a game-winning touchdown in the playoffs, because most teams understand how important it is to not do such a thing.
Right.
But instead, we allowed this crap to happen. And let's talk about that. How did that happen quickly? How did it happen? How did we were able to be in the wrong position? Well, I ain't gonna say we were in the wrong scheme, because you had a guy.
We were in the wrong scheme.
I can't agree with you, because you had a man. The scheme had the man in place to make the play. He did not make the play. So I can't blame that on scheme.
One man,
and then he took out the other guy that was in close proximity. So quickly address that.
You had one man in play to make the play. The other guy that you're talking about in close vicinity, he was sticking another receiver. So in my opinion, we needed to run a different defensive play in that situation. I understand they wanted to force him to the middle, so a cover 2 is a perfect defense to force a pass to the middle. But you should have had something else back there protecting the back end. I think maybe we had a little too much faith in Marcus Williams, and it kind of bit us.
Well, he been making plays for us all year long. It's a shame that he just didn't show up for this game, to make the play, to stop the game. All he had to do is make the tackle.
Something could have happened to somebody else. Like if somebody would have caught it and maybe you broke a tackle, I could see that happening to another player. And it's still the same outcome. His is embarrassing because he didn't get a hand on a guy, but it still would be the same outcome. So you should have more people back there on such a significant play to end the game. They're going to throw a bomb. They have to. I'm not saying run a prevent, because they could have been maybe another play. They could have got a play off and got another play. But you have to run a different defensive scheme.
Let's move
forward.
But
we got away with it the other 2 times on the drive. So
well, let's move forward, because now that that's over with, it's no reason to keep reliving the past, because now it's over with.
Stop torturing yourself. Huh?
You're right. Stop torturing yourself. It's over with. No matter how many times we can.
So how about those Pelicans?
So, anyway, let's go forward and talk about some meaningful topics right now. The Drew Brees situation. Of course, Drew's a free agent now. The team is without a quarterback at the helm.
Right.
Both Drew Brees and backup quarterback Chase Daniels are free agents. So what does, of course we said Drew Brees, does he leave or stay? Do the Saints make the move? Of course I know what Drew do. Do the Saints sign Drew Brees to an extension here? Yes,
I think
or no?
the Saints definitely sign Drew Brees to an extension if he wants to. I think they find a way to get a reasonable amount of money for Drew Brees. Like you said, Drew Brees ain't taking no pay cut.
You ain't taking no
you're
pay
looking
cut.
at least,
you better,
at the
better
very
least,
that. $17 to $18 million a year if you're lucky.
Right.
Something like that, $20 million. I don't think they're going to pay him quite 24. He knows he's getting older. We want his role to get smaller until times like this, the playoffs. You basically want to preserve him for the playoffs and lean on that running game. So that's the direction they're going to. They're going to need some more offensive line depth, because that was a problem. We need defensive ends. We need a linebacker. We need another safety. So, we got a lot of stuff we got to spend money on. We can't give Drew the whole bank.
A final little nugget on that Saints game, just to hand out between the Vikings and Saints, featuring 3 lead changes in the final 90 seconds of regulation is the most lead changes in the final 90 seconds of any game this season, including the playoffs. So the Saints still breaking records in ominous fashions. Even though they losing, they still making things happen. So
we sure was flashy.
Let's move forward. Of course, we know what this team looked like this year and what it could have been. Being that one player would have made that tackle.
Let's talk about what it will be.
Let's look ahead here.
Everybody we got only gonna get better. A lot of these guys, they're young.
Well, let's talk about that. We got the draft now. We're looking forward to, of course, the Saints solidified position now after the loss in the draft. We have to anticipate that. What did this team need to do in the draft as far as free agents is concerned, and about the fact nobody's really thinking about it, that it could be possible that they have 4 NFL coaching opportunities that's out there. Even though a Saint guy might not get a head coaching job, somebody might pull one of our coaches off the staff. We're incredibly successful staff on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, made a name for ourselves. We could lose coaches. Now, we've been fortunate for the last few years because we've been losing, but we could lose some coaches this year. It's quite possible. So let's look forward to that in the last 5 minutes of the show. Talking about that, what do we need to do? Let's address free agency and the draft first. Let's go with free agency first. What are we looking at free agency to help improve this team's chances of going deep into the playoffs?
Free agency, I think,
2018,
is
2019.
where you find your safety or your cornerback, because obviously you've seen the detriment that you can run into with a young guy at that position. So we need and Kenny Vaccaro was the oldest guy we had in the secondary, and he's only like 26 years old. So we need a veteran that's good, not just a guy there because he's
at the
older,
safety position,
at either safety or as a slot corner.
Slot corner,
second corner, and we move Crawley to the slot. Something. We need a third cornerback. We need another cornerback, and we need another safety because I don't think we're gonna re-sign Kenny Vaccaro. I won't be upset for them not signing him.
Raphael
if we
Bush
can get him
Vaccaro
for reasonable money,
I wouldn't be mad if they did bring him back. I just don't think he's coming back.
I wouldn't mind having him back, but even if you bring him back, you still need another safety.
Yeah,
because you can't rely on him. He always gets hurt. He has up and down spikes during the season. So
I can see where you're coming from.
That's the signings we need to make. I don't think we should try and sign a pass rusher. I think we should get that in the draft.
That's what I'm gonna hit on. I think
we should get that in the draft. That's a player. You can have someone inexperienced to rush the passer.
If you have somebody out there that's a veteran that's known for being a pass rusher,
it's gonna cost the house.
I don't care what they cost. You got to get somebody next to pair with Cam, and then of course you say, well, what about Okafor? We could bring Okafor back, but there's other guys that's sitting up under Okafor. I think Okafor would do good at a position where Kakaha played. I think Kakaha, his time here is up. Every year Kakaha has been the same. He's been hurt. I think
we still don't know what Al-Qadim Muhammad is.
That's true. He didn't dress out this game.
We didn't think Junior Gillette was anything, and they came the next year and he balled out.
So let's face up at the draft. It's basically the same thing. You want to take the pass rush in the draft. I think we should take a corner. I would look at a cornerback.
See, I don't want another inexperienced player in the secondary.
But it's just two
experience.
Exactly. It's two positions. I would rather not go young with. The Saints had to do that this year because of limitations with the cap and whatnot. They're in a better position this upcoming free agency, monetarily speaking. And I believe that if the Saints do, 2 positions on the defensive side of the ball need to be addressed via the free agency. That's a pass rusher opposite of Cam Jordan. Also the signing of Okafor, of course, that's key. And then a veteran guy like Malcolm Butler. The Saints tried to trade for Malcolm Butler. They couldn't get him. Maybe they can get him in free agency. I think that's what they were possibly betting on because the New England Patriots will not offer him a contract to come back. They probably will draft somebody. But Malcolm Butler is definitely going to be there. He would be a great addition to have, and then push Crawley down to the nickel position and have Malcolm Butler and Lattimore. I love that look. And then Marcus Williams will be back in a revamped capacity along with him and Von Bell. And I love
who do we put at free safety? You gonna run with Bell?
You have Williams and Bell, and you talking about the free safety. Look, we'll find somebody.
Safety.
You got Bell.
I think Bell is perfect for the 3 safety look.
Well, I like
but
Bell.
I think we need another. Need another strong safety or free safety.
I like
Marcus
Williams.
Could
I like
play,
Williams
free
and Bell.
Safety.
I like Williams and Bell in both safety positions. I'm just gonna be honest with you. In the third safety, you can probably bring back a guy like Raphael Bush or possibly somebody else. So, well, no, Raphael Bush is decent because he plays special teams as well.
We don't want decent. We need to improve. We need to do better. We're not looking for decent.
Okay, so there we go. We discussed quite a few things here, and that's going to do it for the show today. We'd like to thank y'all for joining us for Sports Coma, the Saints and Vikings post-game recap show. Podcast 134. So
we get to say that we still need linebackers.
that's right. We got a lot to talk about. So on the next time you listen to the Sports Coma, remember the Sports Coma will be broadcasting live Mondays at 4 and Mondays at 12 and Fridays at 4. You can see listen to our shows on Facebook, Twitter. Handles at Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram to know what the Sports Coma is on. Just simply go to our Facebook family or whatever and just subscribe. This is from me and I'm Big Q and that's DC. And from both of us guys, I'd like to tell y'all thank y'all for joining us and keep your heads up,
And we
Saints
out
Nation.
like Marcus Williams on that tape.
Keep your heads up, fam. Peace.
You're listening to the PRO Media Network. The next level in entertainment.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
At the Posh Lifestyle, I go there for all my health needs. They offer great deals on organics, water filters, healing magnetics, healing crystals, clothing, books, DVDs, vitamins, and a lot more. They even have free shipping when you spend over $100 on most products. With secure online ordering, fast service, and great products, I save some money, and I'm improving my health doing it. It's a win-win. So do what I did. Go to shop.theposhlifestyle.com. That's shop.theposhlifestyle.com. That's shop.theposhlifestyle.com. So upgrade your lifestyle with The Posh Lifestyle and love what you do.
Let me tell you about a news site that carries the news that you would want to know. News that's not the same as the rest of lamestream media, but a site that lets you know about the most important news on health, economics, tech, entertainment, science, food, sports, world news, positive living, paradigm shift, and a lot more. Go to theposhreportonline.co.